Welcome back. Well, in lesson 2, we're going to talk about why is life so hard and some things about change, and it will help us to really understand the problem that perhaps you're facing. So why is life so hard? Well, the answer is life isn't so hard when you have the right keys for living. It's still challenging, and there are hard times that we go through, but life doesn't have to be awful on an ongoing basis. This course should bring you hope for a better future and keys to help other people if you will actually put into practice what you learn. I hope that for lesson 1 you went through the action steps and worked out those things about your own life on a timeline, because that will really help you. For many people, life is extremely hard because they didn't learn from their parents how to manage life when they were children. Childhood is the time of life when behaviour patterns are formed, when attitudes and values are put into place, and when the foundations for our whole philosophy of life is built and established. Educationalists tell us that most of our perspective on life is formed by the age of 5 years. Many people I talk to have suffered horribly in their childhood. Some have suffered horrendous forms of sexual abuse, violence and neglect. Many of these children brought themselves up and maybe acted in a parenting role to younger siblings without having any real positive input into their own lives. This was not their fault. In fact, I think those people deserve a medal for surviving, staying sane, and even going on to live reasonably normal lives. If you're one of those people, give yourself a big pat on the back. You deserve it. I know quite a lot of people like that. They've had to take on huge responsibility that should have been the adults' responsibility to carry, and yet children have had to take on those responsibilities because the adults were not able to or not willing to step up to the mark. There are, of course, many other people who didn't suffer to that terrible extent, but still were not provided with encouragement and life skills to set them up for a happy, peaceful, contented and successful life. When my youngest daughter was in grade 8 and struggling with maths, a retired teacher said that she probably had some gaps in her understanding of maths because she had missed quite a lot of school days in grade 5. She only needed minimal tutoring to fill the gaps in, and she went on to succeed brilliantly in year 12. And so my intention in this course is to help fill in some of the gaps in your education for living. If you didn't receive that as a child, then you need to know some of those things. Even this, not in this course, but you know, some families, the children are not even taught to wash their hands before they eat. And little things like that are going to help them to stay healthy and help them to learn the right way to do things in a social context. Some children have never had that kind of education. Now, we're not covering that here, but we are going to cover some of the things you need in order to enjoy life more and make the most of your life, and especially as a Christian. So your part of the deal is to make a commitment to do whatever you need to do to get a breakthrough in your life. Are you ready to do that? I'm sure if you need a breakthrough, I'm sure you'll be saying yes. Now, if you need a breakthrough, it will mean change. Obviously, if you continue to live the same way you always have, then nothing will change. and you will continue to be just as dissatisfied with life as you always have been. Our philosophy of life, based on our values and beliefs, attitudes and motivation, is formed in our subconscious mind. A commonly used example of this is an iceberg. Although the section above the water, representing our conscious mind, seems large, the part of the iceberg below the water, representing the subconscious mind, is many times bigger. When we're faced with a decision in any life situation, we consciously think through the various implications and possible solutions to the problem. However, ultimately our decision or reaction will be based largely on our particular perspective on life, which emerges from the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, being much larger and longer established in its reasoning and conclusions, exerts much more control than our conscious thought. For instance, if your subconscious mind is filled with rejection, insecurity, sadness and fears, then you can fairly accurately predict your feelings and reactions if you're placed in a socially challenging situation. Suppose you were invited to the home of your boss for a large family birthday party. Now, the only person you actually know there is your boss. What would your reaction be? A person whose life has not been shaped in a positive way would probably experience quite a lot of anxiety and stress, thinking, oh, what if I wear the wrong thing? What if no one talks to me? What if I embarrass myself? However, if a confident, happy person was placed in the same situation, he or she would probably go off to the party with a sense of anticipation. He might be thinking, perhaps I'll make some good business contacts, or perhaps he's interested to meet the boss's family. Maybe he's looking forward to the party food, or just interested to see how his boss interacts with people in an outside of work situation. That person looks forward to getting dressed for the party, looking his best, putting on his favourite aftershave. Doesn't give a thought to whether he's wearing the right thing or how other people are going to react to him. Which person will be happier and more relaxed? And how will people react to that person? So I think you realise the second person is going to have a lot more fun at the party. Would you like to be the second person? You can be, if you change. But how do we change? And what changes are needed? An amazing thing to realise is that our thoughts, conscious or subconscious, actually create our emotions. Now, I'll say that again. Our thoughts create our emotions. When I first heard that, I thought, I didn't really believe it. I didn't think it was right. But you try this out. This is a test. So you imagine you're watching a movie. Now, the movie seems fine and you're all involved, but suddenly the music changes to something sinister. From past experience, your mind tells you that something bad is going to happen. Your body reacts with apprehension, your chest tightens, you actually feel tense, maybe even fearful. Nothing has happened yet, but your subconscious mind is working overtime, calling up memories of past experience into your conscious mind, allowing you to imagine what might be about to happen. So it's actually, you think the thought first, oh, the music's changed, something's going to happen, and then your body reacts. So your thought creates the emotion or calls up the emotion. What if you're woken suddenly in the night by a strange noise? You might begin to think of all the possibilities. Who could be out there? What's happened? Are they armed? Have they got an evil intention? And you react with fear. So the thought comes first of what might be happening, and the reaction of fear comes next. Or else you tell yourself, oh, what was that? Oh, maybe it was something in my dream that startled me. Oh, I'm really very sleepy. And you just turn over and go back to sleep. What made the difference in your reactions? It's your thoughts. How you think about the situation causes you to react in certain ways. There's a man called James Allen who wrote a very good little booklet. It's not called a book, but it's really a booklet. It is titled As a Man Thinketh. And you can actually download it for free on the internet if you do a Google search, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And this little booklet explains that we shape our own lives by the thoughts that we choose, that our mind is the master weaver both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance. He says that up until now we may have woven in ignorance and pain, yet now we may weave in enlightenment and happiness. It's a kind of old-fashioned language. But the fact is that by our thoughts we create or shape our lives. Our thoughts are so powerful, and our words are extremely powerful too, as you will have heard, I'm sure. This is a very powerful truth. But I know people who wouldn't persevere in trying to change in this process because they don't believe it will work. But I can assure you from personal experience that this statement is true, and it will work if you put it into practice in a positive way and persevere until you see results. The way that you think can change everything. It's true that people who've grown up amongst negative thinkers will generally tend to be negative thinkers, and therefore will bring about in their lives many negative circumstances and relationships. The Bible clearly tells us, be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the Bible also says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. That's in Proverbs 18 and verse 21. Our words are incredibly powerful, so take care with the words you use about yourself and others, because they have the power to break up or to build up or to break down. And of course there are whole books written on the subject of our words and the power of them. It's amazing how many times we hear people say, oh, something's going to kill you, or I'll kill you if you do this. Words, horrible negative words like that, are very powerful. Sometimes we have some cold symptoms and we say, oh, I think I'm coming down with a cold or the flu. And we're speaking things over ourselves that we don't want. And so it's time now to make some changes and to start thinking and speaking in positive ways that will help our lives. The action steps this week will help you as you work through this whole process of changing your mind. I had a couple of quotes I wanted to tell you. There's one from the book of Job in the Bible, where Job says, the thing that I dreaded most has come upon me. And it's true that if we are fearful of some particular thing and we're dreading it, often that thing will come to pass. So we have to learn how to speak the positive things into action. Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company said, if you think you can do a thing or you can't, you are right. So in other words, whichever way you think, then that's right. It will come to pass. So just realise the power of your thoughts and work through those steps for this week. And I'll see you next time we're going to talk about self-image and how we can change. So thank you. That'll be all for today.